3 years ago in the winter quarter of 2012, just as classes started, the University of Washington disenrolled a student who was a level 3 sex offender. He was 1 quarter away from graduation. The following fall, additional questions were added to the UW application asking potential students if they had ever been convicted of or have charges pending against them for violent felonies or sexual offenses. The additions came as a result of meetings between the Provost and the Board of Regents, as well as other meetings between the Provost, faculty, and concerned citizens.
We got involved with the whole issue here when a lieutenant on the UW Police Department, Craig Wilson, disenrolled a student of ours. And I went back to the email. I was sitting with the law school a while ago, and he wrote the student. He said, "You have been withdrawn and are no longer a registered student for this class, effective immediately," as though he was God. And we hired lawyers and caused that situation to be remedied so that that student could go on and graduate with his degree. He had a major in physics and a minor in applied mathematics. And by the way, went on and got his master's degree in applied mathematics, all here at UW. But so once we protected him, protected his right to attend class here, then we sort of withdrew.
I think the situation was especially difficult to handle because of the short period of time between disclosure and when we were required by law to, figure out appropriate accommodations. They sent out a mass email to everybody on campus, which further at least made the situation worse for the students, but also created a situation where there was a fair deal of upset. I'm not sure that panic is the right word, but something akin to that among some of our students and parents. So in essence, we had a bad situation.
Then Anamari the provost started to implement this new admissions policy, and some students at the law school were offended by the new policy, and somehow they were aware of us and they came down to our office, and their beliefs were strongly felt. They were adamantly opposed to any admissions policy change. And so we spent a lot of time with them, and we're in the midst of that, and a change.org petition started. And that came to the attention of the provost, Anamari. And 3 former prisoners, including one of the 2 who was involved in the blast email in January of 2012, and a staff member who got her psychology degree here, Shelby Shepard, and I came down and we met with Anamari over at Gerberding Hall and in her office, and tried to stop the change in the admissions policy. And maybe we got them to moderate the changes they were looking at, but as you know, the policy went into effect anyway.
I was trying to strike the right balance between, on the one hand, creating real access, which is something that I believe very strongly in, at the same time being responsible to our students, to their parents, to a community where that in essence we have vulnerable youth. At the end of the day, to make a very long story short, we ended up deciding that we were not going to deny anybody admission because of how they answered the question. And that what we would do is instead use it to try and put together whatever kinds of safety protocols or support programs in place to make it the best environment possible for these students.
According to the provost, in the first year of the application change, 11 prospective students answered the question yes appropriately. Of those 11, 6 were admitted and are at the university. That's a 55% admissions rate compared to the average UW acceptance rate of 56%.
I should make it clear that the 5 who weren't accepted, it wasn't because of their criminal background. It was because of their GPA or something else. But I say the fact that the figures are so close, I think, would tend to show that, in fact, when I said that we didn't use the question, we didn't use the question. I'm actually hoping that, particularly as we, have a few years of data, that, we can become a bit of a model for how to do this responsibly.
Since the application change, no undergraduate students have been removed from class on the basis of their criminal history. The university has been able to identify these students upon admission and provide support for class registration and other services when requested. While the university is satisfied with the results thus far, this policy has been heavily criticized by a number of students, professors, and concerned citizens.
I have tremendous respect for what I've been told about the impulse behind creating the questions. I know that there's different, ideas about the university being responsible for its campus and responsible to its students. And I've heard also that the questions are there to help support students who might have a felony record or be registered as sex offenders, and that it's sort of in their best interest to have the university be on their side if they're admitted. So I want to say all that I hear, some of the rationales. I don't perceive those questions on the admissions form to serve any of those ends. If our end is to understand students who are coming with that history, then we could, as a university, find that out after admission. To put it on the admissions form, to me, is to have a chilling effect on the perception that the University of Washington welcomes students with those backgrounds.
And I'm just vehemently, totally opposed to it, and I think it's wrong. And the more I've thought about this since you contacted me, the more, instead of the obvious things, the more, the thing that's most concerning to me is I wonder if you're a former prisoner and this is UW's policy, whether you're even going to apply here. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it, but I spent 5 years in federal prison, from basically 95 to 2000. And then I came out to UW, and when I applied, it was a non-issue. If it had been an issue, I don't know if I would have applied. I don't know if I would have put myself through it or not. That's my overriding concern, is if somebody's confronted with that, are they going to put themselves through all that criticism and sort of be re-sentenced or something like that.
I'm not clear that the particular questions we ask do what people say they're supposed to do. And I do believe, and know anecdotally already, that the presence of the box, no matter how carefully constructed, does have a chilling effect for people. And as far as I can tell, it's a way of producing the rhetoric of safety or the perception of safety for some people, that we have a box, in ways that don't have a lot of positive impact, but I think are likely to have measurable negative impact in terms of keeping people from feeling this is a welcoming campus.
And they just all want a chance. I mean, they're like desperate to have a chance that they've never had before. And I we've had 5 people in 9 years recidivate. And so our success rate's like about 97%, and that speaks to the drive of these men and women. And that's probably, by the way, the core issue with what's happened here at UW is the men and women coming out of prison are so desperate and so driven to get it right that they do get it right. And they're going to be the ones on this campus who aren't breaking the rules, who aren't using drugs, who are monitored by the Department of Correction, who, if they weren't monitored, still wouldn't break rules, who are going to study their butts off, make incredibly good grades and become really good members of society.
Every study that anyone has ever done demonstrates that higher levels of education correlates to lower rates of recidivism. College isn't just a place, for creative and intellectual exploration, but it's also kind of a gatekeeper for a lot of skills that will lead to employment. And especially with the stigma often attached to a conviction history for employment or for access to housing, college is one of the vehicles to get access to skills that might improve your chances for employment.
Criminal background questions have become increasingly common in college applications for schools across the United States. The University of Washington administration feels that their policy strikes the right balance between addressing the public concern over campus safety while at the same time maintaining their access mission. But many critics believe that asking these questions in the school application might prevent people from applying in the first place. Does requiring applicants to disclose their criminal pasts prior to admission create a safer campus, or does it add an unnecessary barrier to accessing higher education? If the university is trending in one direction, public discourse leaning to the other, this issue will continue to be an important point of contention for years to come.